Everybody, you worked hard today. Waking up early to an alarm rubbing away the sleep from your eyes. Pushing through crowded subway trains, cars, and working till your bones fell down. Surviving the boss outraging, apologizing to entitled customers, making it out alive a whole month passing. Only catching sight numbers ticking up inside checks. We look at down the numbers, feeling safely calm right after seeing them. All right, not on minus at all these days. Counting off coffee money, leaving a $500 saved on the account. Gaining up real estate, enjoying a peaceful, retired life. But guys, I am speaking out extremely uncomfortable words directly destructing down the worldview built behind you. Money earned with sweat, time thrown out saving numbers, someone perfectly stealing silently without catching hands rightly now on right here beside. Haven't felt so frustrated ever before? I clearly burned over everything more harder comparing this year than past. Gaining position means salaries climbing up slightly. So why exactly gasping hard during regular supermarket grocery shopping routines? Prices reaching stars looking toward New York apartments, hard looking at real. Or possibly lacking mind for economy and investing? Nah, never doing wrongs toward yours. Living properly without any bad things done, it is innocent entirely up to living exactly on paths told directly toward yours alone. Truly, rules lying below your saving cash systems mutated entirely on perfectly arranged massive scams. The beginning point around this giant trap exactly tracking back August 15th, 1971. Without reaching around, watching, finishing off, burning out, dedicating lifetimes running spinning hamsters, change strongly around without breaking poverty lines at all. Let's just take a breath and turn the clock back for a second to before 1971. Back then, the common sense we all grew up with actually worked. Saving is a virtue. Putting your money in the bank guarantees a secure retirement. Ever wonder why? Because back then, money was real money. It was money directly linked to gold. At the time, the global economic system was built on something called the Bretton Woods system. In 1944, toward the end of World War II, the leaders of the United States, who were dominating the world, made a promise to everyone. You can trust and use our US dollar. If you bring us $35, we will exchange it for 1 ounce of gold, unconditionally, at any time. Think about what that really meant. The paper bills in your wallet weren't just paper. They were literally gold certificates. Governments and central banks couldn't just print money whenever they felt like it. They could only issue dollars in exact proportion to the actual gold sitting in the US national vaults. The act of recklessly printing money to drop its value, basically playing dirty games with inflation, was something the government simply could not do. However, in the 1960s, America fell into a fatal arrogance. President Johnson began pouring astronomical amounts of money into welfare policies under the banner of the Great Society, while simultaneously sinking into the endless quagmire of the Vietnam War. To buy bullets, make bombs, and pay soldiers' salaries, you need a massive amount of money, right? Without even considering the amount of gold in their vaults, the US started printing paper dollars like crazy. They were just blindly flooding the system with fake money, completely unbacked by gold. The first to notice this were the European nations. In particular, French President Charles de Gaulle saw through this massive American scam, and he was absolutely furious. De Gaulle declared to the US, "We know you're just printing money without the gold to back it. We don't trust the dollar anymore. All the dollars we hold, exchange them for gold right now, exactly as you promised." France even sent warships to New York, handing over stacks of dollars and sweeping the gold out of US vaults. Britain and Spain rushed to exchange their dollars for gold as well. The whole world was flocking to the US with their dollars. An unprecedented national-scale bank run had begun. The vaults of Fort Knox started bottoming out in the blink of an eye. At this rate, the US was on the verge of losing all its gold and going bankrupt. And then it happened. On the evening of Sunday, August 15, 1971, US President Richard Nixon delivered the most shocking and destructive special TV address to the entire world. I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Nixon brazenly called it a temporary suspension, but it was a permanent suspension that has lasted for over 50 years to this very day. That brief announcement forever changed human history, and honestly, it changed the fate of your own wallet. It was the moment the anchor of money, tightly held by gold, was severed. From that moment on, the real money we knew died. Money was reduced to mere ink-stained scraps of paper that the government could print infinitely by just tapping a few keys out of thin air. It became fiat money. Now, here is where we all fall into a fatal illusion. Let's set up a comparison. Ordinary people look at a $50 bill in their wallet and think, this is a fixed value of $50 forever. If I save this, I can become rich. But let's completely reinterpret this from a modern economic perspective. The money we have today is not a substance with absolute value. It's simply debt and credit that the state can print whenever it wants. When the government prints infinite amounts of money under the excuse of an economic crisis, it means money becomes as common as trash in the market. And when money becomes that common, it means the value of that hard-earned cash in your wallet is absolutely plummeting. This is the true face of inflation. The media tells you prices are going up, right? That the price of groceries is rising, the price of apartments is rising. I need you to hear me on this. That is wrong. You need to change your frame of reference. The price of goods isn't going up. The value of your money is being destroyed. Imagine you work your fingers to the bone and manage to save $100,000 in the bank. If the real inflation rate is 5% every year, the government is flawlessly stealing $5,000 worth of purchasing power from your account annually, without a trace, without leaving a single receipt. Economists call this the inflation tax. Instead of raising taxes, which faces fierce public resistance, it's literally a silent robbery. Printing money to secretly siphon our wealth into the hands of the state. And the worst part? It doesn't end there. The powerful and the establishment thoroughly exploit this system. Enter the Cantillon Effect. Let's look at this devilish mechanism discovered by 18th century economist Richard Cantillon. The central bank turns on the printing presses and unleashes massive amounts of money into the market. Who do you think gets this money first? Does it go straight into your salary account? Absolutely not. This money flows first to those closest to the money printer, the government, mega banks, and massive corporations, at dirt-cheap interest rates close to 0%. What do they do with this immense amount of cash? Before the money fully circulates in the market and before prices go up, they sweep up all the most lucrative real estate, stocks, and hard assets. And a few years later, after that injected money has circulated and driven prices up like crazy, then it finally trickles into your salary account with a meager raise. And when you take that money and go out to the store, the price of bread, housing, and gas has already skyrocketed to the moon. Do you see what this means? The rich buy assets first with newly printed money and get richer just sitting there, while the poor and middle class absorb all the damage of skyrocketing prices, getting poorer no matter how hard they work. It is a perfectly designed, legalized system of exploitation. During the COVID pandemic, when the whole world was printing money, this is exactly why asset owners became overnight millionaires, while regular working people were practically left as overnight beggars. Have you always firmly believed that saving cash is the ultimate virtue? In today's fiat money system, saving only cash is a fatal choice that absolutely devours your wealth. It's exactly like holding an ice cream cone under the scorching summer sun, hoping to keep it from melting forever. As time passes, its value shrinks and eventually melts away into water. Yet you mistakenly think to yourself, I am keeping my money perfectly safe. If you've listened up to this point, you probably feel a deep sense of emptiness. The economic common sense you firmly trusted and relied on for so long weren't actually the rules designed to make you rich. It's completely understandable to feel confused and even deeply wronged by this. Yes, I deeply empathize with that sense of loss. But everyone, simply blaming the structural flaws of the system and sitting still will change absolutely nothing. This isn't just a simple behavioral tweak like cutting your spending or saving more. You must completely rebuild your entire frame of looking at money and the economy, right at this very moment. A fundamental revolution in how you view cash is desperately needed. From now on, to you, cash is no longer a permanent store of value. Cash is merely a transit station and a temporary exchange ticket. A place to stay just for a moment before moving your wealth into real assets that can actually defend against inflation. To avoid losing your precious time and labor, you must hold on to things the central bank cannot print out of thin air. That means holding hard assets with clearly defined and limited scarcity. Stocks of blue-chip companies driving global innovation and generating cash flow. Real estate in core locations with irreplaceable positioning and massive demand. Or even new digital assets with issuance strictly limited by network algorithms. Only those who understand the rules of capitalism and boldly ride its waves can safely protect their wealth and future amidst the invisible current of inflation. When a massive storm is raging at sea, you shouldn't stay below in a sinking ship, clutching a wad of soaked paper money. But everyone, it doesn't end here. There is one more massive historical turning point that is absolutely crucial for us to notice. Let me throw a question at you. When the 1971 Nixon Shock ended the dollar's convertibility to gold and the reserve currency lost its solid backing, why didn't the US economy collapse? Far from collapsing, how is it that the entire global economy to this day still revolves entirely around the US dollar, maintaining its absolute hegemony? Having lost its gold anchor, the United States found the most meticulous and strategic new anchor in human history to firmly secure the dollar. In 1974, U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger quietly flew to Saudi Arabia in absolute secrecy. And there, he forged a highly covert and massive agreement with the Desert Royal family, the essential energy source that acts as the lifeblood of every nation. Crude oil. The historic moment they made crude oil payable exclusively in US dollars, a system that permanently tied your bank balance to global energy hegemony. It was the birth of the Petrodollar system. If you are completely unaware of this solid historical economic link created by this black liquid and green paper, and you blindly jump into the market out of pure anxiety to buy just any asset, amidst the approaching macroeconomic shifts, your asset portfolio might suffer an uncontrollable, devastating blow. But did you know, everyone, that this petrodollar system, which has ruled the world for half a century, is forming massive cracks right before our eyes? How will this massive fracture, colliding with the global economic realignment in 2027, create a truly chilling parallel theory? The final puzzle to protect your wealth in the upcoming era of upheaval. I will uncover the hidden truth of this meticulous economic history in the next video. If you pass by this channel without hitting subscribe and turning on notifications, you might miss the most critical signal in the approaching wealth realignment.